Hi everyone, my name's Sue Quigley and welcome to my channel Hardcore Healing. This is the place where we focus on our own spiritual path, our own personal evolution. And today is Wednesday, the 22nd of March. Now, I did a reading at the beginning of the month about the energies to expect during this month and just some things that we could focus on individually. And with this channel, it's all about what we do individually that ultimately impacts and affects the collective, affects the reality of where we find ourselves. And it's great to do that when we look outside of ourselves and there's so much crazy stuff going on. We don't even know where to begin. We don't even know which side we're on sometimes. We don't know how to affect change or how to help. We can always help. We can always help by going inward and seeing what's going on inside of us and making some changes there. But I've had a recurring theme that's been going on. Things keep cropping up this month that have caused me to stop and see and reflect and meditate and sit with my guides and my energy guides to see what is occurring. What are we being told to look at? What are we being gently nudged to address? Because in a lot of the one-to-one readings I've been doing, the same card has been coming up. And there's no such thing as coincidence, I don't think. I think there's always something that we're being asked to look at. This is the card that's kept coming up. 5 of Cups. Now, in its general meaning, the 5 of Cups can indicate regret or disappointment and things like that. But it's always felt to me when it's come up in readings, and when it came up, I think it also came up in the main energy reading that I did, the March energy reading that I did. So in the individual readings as well, it has really come through more about reminiscing. And for me personally, I have had over the past few months, definitely, starting at the beginning of this year, I kept getting memories coming up. I kept getting feelings coming up about things that I thought were long in the past. I kept getting memories and I kept getting the same kind of feelings about things that I thought I'd done with, things that I thought I'd put in the past, things that I thought I'd healed from. But it kept cropping up and the feelings felt the same. And is that happening for you? Because I feel like it's coming up a lot for people. If you're getting reminded of past events, if you're getting memories, if you find yourself reminiscing or recalling things, and not necessarily great things, but things that you thought you'd done with, things that you thought you'd healed yourself from. It might be certain people, it might be memories of certain situations, it might be recurring patterns of behaviour, those recurring thoughts that we used to have. I know with me, it was very much about the kind of thoughts I used to have in the past when I used to be quite a highly anxious, stressed person and a little bit paranoid, if I'm honest. And I started getting the kind of same sensations and feelings, and it was really, really disconcerting. Why are these things cropping up again? Why am I getting these feelings about people that I thought I'd long done with? Don't fear when it comes up, because I always think sometimes things come up, if you like, it's like the last hurrah. It's the last thing to come up to just get us to acknowledge and reflect on it, acknowledge that it's there and have that final I'm done with it moment. But also there's something bigger coming up. There's a massive shift that's going on energetically for us. I know that you can look wider than this channel and there's many readers all talking about this big shift that's coming and big changes. Now, this isn't going to be a one-off occurrence. It's not something that's going to happen at a specific time at a specific date. I know there's some people that are pushing towards that, but generally these changes that are occurring in our world today, these changes that are happening for all of mankind, it is part of our overall evolution on this planet Earth. It's not going to happen overnight. We have moved into, but we are in the midst of these changes for the age of Aquarius. So much is shifting, and we are being urged, if you like, we are being nudged towards clearing ourselves, getting ourselves ready for these changes that are occurring. Now, there's not one person who is unaffected by this. However, not everybody is going to recognize or is going to take notice of these nudges, these shifts. So if you like, the guidance to make ourselves clear of these old ways of being, these old memories, these old things that we have healed from, we need to clear them out of our system. And as I've said before, it's all about intention. We have to have a clear intention that we are done with that. So if you are getting memories coming up, if you are feeling like you're getting reminders, if you like, of things that you thought you'd moved on from, things that you thought you'd already healed, don't be afraid to sit with it and just acknowledge that it's there, and just to say, yeah, confirm that you're done. Confirm, and if you like, see how far you've come. Sometimes it's just that moment to just reflect and say, wow, I have changed. I have moved on. I am finished with that cycle. I'm ready for something new. Because we are being moved into this new era, we are being moved, and we are all being asked to get ready for these changes. Be the person that recognises those subtle shifts and those nudges. And don't be afraid of the changes. They are all for the good. They are all for the positive. I know that when we look outside of ourselves, we can see some really crazy stuff going on. You only have to open the newspapers or have a look at what's online, and there's a lot of stuff happening that seems really crazy, seems really OTT, if you like. And it can seem really toxic and really heavy, and some of it quite scary. We've got political leaders at each other. There's the threat of war. We've got so much toxicity that goes on online with people and opinions and beliefs. And it feels sometimes like everybody's really polarised and everybody's shouting and it's so noisy. But that is because we're being urged to look at these things, to understand these things, and to heal and move on from these things. We have to see the dark in order to recognise the light. We have to see the dark in order to acknowledge it, notice it, and learn from it. Do something with it. Do you see? So when this card has been coming up for me in readings, and obviously in individual readings it can be many different things, but there's been the theme has definitely been not so much of disappointment, but of looking at things in the past, looking at things that are coming up and being ready to say, I'm done with that. I'm moving on from that. I don't need that. And the overall thing, being able to let it go, being able to move on from it, recognise that you have moved on from these things. Another interesting thing that has come up, and this has affected me as well, is recognise when you do that the changes you're experiencing in your likes. Sometimes it's physical taste, you know. Have you noticed that some things you used to like, you don't anymore, or you just can't be bothered with anymore? The same with things that you do, that you used to do. You might realise that actually you're doing things out of habit, but when you think about it, you don't really want to do them anymore. I've experienced those changes, and I know I'm not the only one. I know in other people I've been talking to, we can kind of just go on and on and on in our day-to-day business. But when we start to pay attention to how we're feeling about things, when we make ourselves more aware and more questioning of what we're doing and how we are actually feeling, I think we're finding ourselves generally not so much inclined to do some of the behaviours and habits that perhaps weren't so good for us. And we're kind of realising, maybe I have changed, maybe I've moved on. And it's no big thing. It's not like you wake up in the morning and suddenly think, oh my God, I can no longer drink coffee. But you might suddenly think that the cup of coffee that you enjoyed, you just don't want it anymore. And maybe you want something else instead. And I'm not going all virtuous. I love a strong cup of coffee or two in the morning, definitely. I'm not going all virtuous. It's more about the fact that tastes are changing, that we are changing. And when we are changing energetically, we are changing all our internal vibes and what's going on. It can lead to changes externally, and it can lead to changes that we are experiencing in the things we do and the things that we take part in, and also the things that we eat and drink. We might notice some changes there. So it's just sometimes about what we notice that's different, and we don't need to analyse it. We don't need to put any scrutiny on it, but we can just be quite curious about what those changes might be and just recognise them and actually be excited about them. Because the changes that are coming, I know that there's a lot of stuff. I love the word stuff. There's a lot of stuff out there that might tell you otherwise, that might say we're going into a pit of doom. But don't forget, we always have choices. And at the moment, we are at a massive crossroads and a massive choice point. This is where we decide, what do we want our future to be? Which timeline do we want to follow? Do we want the doomsday outcome? Do we want to fall down a rabbit hole of doom and darkness? Or are we going to choose the light? Are we going to choose to believe in our own sovereignty, in our own uniqueness, and in our own ability to be able to create light? In our own ability to be able to shine light even in the darkness? Because I think that we can. And I think that's where we should start to notice what we're doing. Notice any subtle changes. Notice what we're being urged to look at. And certainly to notice how far we've come. And not be disappointed if things start to crop up for us again. Maybe we find ourselves in situations again that we thought that we'd done with. It's here as the final clearing. It's here for us to pay attention to notice, and to finally do that self-healing work, or set that intention that I am moving on from this now. So I'm going to be back at the beginning of April. I'm already sitting with the information that wants to come through. April is going to be very interesting month. There's going to be quite a lot going on. So I do want to say kind of, hold on, it's all happening now, but not in a doom and gloom way, you know. I think when we prepare ourselves for change and shifts, we can allow ourselves to move with it, to ride the waves, to move with the flow of where we're being taken. It's all about just being prepared and just being aware. So I'm just going to pull, a card before I go. And this is from a deck I absolutely love called The Secret Language of Light. And I find this, I use this quite a lot for myself. It's quite a magical deck. But I thought for what we needed for the rest of the month, which is only a week or so, what can we focus on? What can we look at? One card showing itself. On the bottom of the deck is channeling. And I think that is a good card. That is one. What are we channeling? You know, we all channel. We all receive information. We all get those nudges and those urges. So channeling, what are we receiving? What are we being urged to look at? What are we being asked to notice? What are those words of wisdom from the energies that surround us, from our guides, from that higher wisdom that's always around? And also, I did say one card, but one jumped out of the pack. And there's another one that I've just found on the side that I didn't shuffle. I don't know why I didn't pick it up, but that's worth looking at as well. Absolutely is. Inner voice. Inner voice. Again, like channeling. What are we listening to? What can we hear? What can we pay attention to? What is that inner voice saying to you? Yeah? Without our usual, I know it said this, but does it mean that? What does it tell you when you sit in those quiet moments? And the card that stuck out the deck, the card that I'm going to leave you with, is this one, Divine Animals. Don't forget that as well as being part of the human race, we are part of the overall collective of Earth. Earth has an energy, as do all of the plants, all of the trees, and our animals. Pay attention to our animals. Pay attention to the souls that exist within them. How can they help us on our path, our own journey, our own evolution? Let's show love and compassion as widely as possible beyond our most inner circle. What do we notice about the animal kingdom? What can they teach us? Maybe there's an animal that you're drawn to, and then sit with that if there is. And what is it about that animal that you're drawn to? What are the personality traits of that animal? What does it signify to you? And within that information, there'll be something useful for you. Maybe you'll connect with something in that personality trait, something in the characteristics of the animal that you need a bit of. Or that maybe you have yourself and you resonate. We can learn so much from the animal kingdom, and we can see so much of them reflected in us, their personalities, their characteristics. So maybe just sit with that. If you sat quietly, who would your divine animal be? Who would come forward for you? And then think about, in your mind, what you think their personality is, what you think their characteristics are. And maybe there's something in there that can help you as well. I'll leave you with that. I'll leave you with lots of love, and I'll be back in a week or so with the readings for April, which are going to be really exciting. Take care. Bye now.